Morning everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood art teacher here to show you how to use the watercolor colored pencils for your cubist composition assignment. So I have a group of watercolor colored pencils here, and the first most sort of obvious application of using them is to color them just like a regular colored pencil. And I've given you a heavier paper with a little bit of tooth to it, so you can be pretty firm in adding your color. You want to try to get it even without a lot of what I would call brush strokes, for lack of a better term. You know, without a lot of lines, I guess is a good way to put it. So there, I've got a nice solid color, and what I'm going to do is just add some water to it. So these are pencils that turn into something that very much resembles watercolor when they get wet. And it gives you a beautiful, nice, deep, rich color if you start with a pretty good coat. And you can kind of smooth it out a little bit as you go. I was asked yesterday in class, does it make sense to do all of the coloring first? And then go back into it with the water, or to do the water as you go. And I personally would suggest that you do the water as you go, because it does look quite a bit different, and so you really want to see what it's looking like and how it's turning out as you're doing it. Another option is to do what's called a gradation, where you go from light to dark. So I'm starting around the edge of this one and I'm coloring it darker. And then I'm going to come in from the edge a little bit and sort of fade it so that it's softer. But I'm trying to do it in a way that it's not terribly obvious. You know, it doesn't look like stripes. And I'm not going to color all the way to the center because I'm going to try to fade it to white. So that might be enough right there. And again, I'm going to take my brush. But this time I'm just going to go around the dark edge first. And you can play with how much water is on your brush. You might like it with a little drier. And now I'm going to clean my brush, maybe dab off a little bit of the extra water, and then come in and start to blend it into the lighter areas. So I just keep cleaning my brush a little bit at a time so that I'm not dragging the darker areas into the lighter ones. There we go. And when that dries, you'll be able to see a little bit, you know, sort of dark around the outside fading to the inside. A technique that a lot of watercolor artists use is they take something very absorbent like a paper towel, or what's called a thirsty brush, where you take a brush that's dry and use it to soak up some of the extra water. So if you feel like it's gotten a little too dark someplace, you can go back and lighten it up. And so you can do this to create gradations of dark to light. Remember that we're working in the backgrounds as well as on the objects themselves. So we want to see, you know, color going on in the backgrounds as well. So for this one, I'm just going to put in a quick light coat of yellow. And I'm going to use some water to do some blending, so I'm not too worried about what it looks like. And then I'm going to bring my blue in on top as well, so that I can mix some colors here. I'm going to make the blue a little darker on the outer edge. And then come back in with the water. And it's going to make sort of a greeny color, fading into a solid yellow closer to the object. So it's really important that you think about what colors are going where, because it's every time you add a color to a piece of art, it sort of changes the way it looks. And that's a good thing, you know. So just be aware as you're going. You can use as many colors as you want, but I do suggest that you pick with a color scheme so that you don't end up with, you know, sort of every color in the rainbow. Try to think about having something be like your focal point. How is your eye going to move around? How are you going to show different levels? So having this orange here, here, and here helps me flatten the image out, which is kind of one of the things we're shooting for in this project, to make it more cubist, to kind of flatten it out. You can, my paper is still wet, and I'm going back in and adding a little bit more watercolor, and what that does is it softens the pencil as you are drawing it, so you get sort of a richer, deeper color. It may be harder to assimilate it, to blend it in, but a little bit, you know, a little bit of texture marks and stuff may not be a bad thing. So there you have it. Let me know if you have any questions.